I'd like to thank the organizers of this important event for inviting me to speak here this morning. I would like to say that this is my first speech at an important event here in Tbilisi since my arrival and since my appointment as ambassador of the European Union to Georgia. But when I say it's my first speech, it is my first, but this will not be a full kind of speech which I will address to you this morning. I would like to speak to you very shortly about the state of play in the area of energy in the European Union as a whole. And second, yes, I would like to say some words about how the European Union relates to the Caspian Sea Basin and to interconnections between the Caspian Sea Basin and Europe. And thirdly, I will speak about how we look at Georgia as partner for the European Union in the area of energy. As you well know, the European Union is to a large extent about energy. The whole idea of the Union was very much based on developing cooperation between European states in the area of coal at that time and steel, with the creation of the coal and steel community in 1951. And ever since, energy has been a very important topic. It has been, first of all, an opportunity for the member states of the European Union to build their cooperation and their integration stronger and stronger. But at the same time, it was always an issue that led to efforts to cooperate deeper and deeper with the outside world. And if you look back to the last, I would say, 15 to 20 years, the European Union has done quite a lot in order to increase its energy security and also in order to decrease its existing vulnerability in the energy area. And I would like to say that notwithstanding all those efforts, even today, the European Union appears as quite vulnerable in the energy field. We still import 53% of all our energy needs, all our energy consumption. And as far as oil is concerned, the EU covers this need by 90% of imports, and in the area of gas it is 66%. And you understand also that inside the European Union this, I would say, vulnerability is not evenly distributed. There are countries which are much more exposed to imports, like the Baltic states and some Eastern and Central European member states. It means also that the European Union, this means also that the European Union's energy security and energy, I would say, vulnerability appears in a different new light in our days. Because, first of all, we see that energy demand will continue to grow in the world, so we will have to compete with others in our efforts to have access to energy. The second important element that we have to take into consideration today is what happens in the east, in the area to the east from the European Union. And you understand that what happens in the Ukraine and the state of affairs of our relations with Russia will further increase. This gives us an additional reason to make everything that depends on us to increase our energy security. The third aspect is that, as you know, we are just coming out from a rather important financial crisis, and we see that our import of energy is a significant burden on our trade balance and on our balance of payments. The European Union spends on energy imports, every day spends 1 billion euros on energy imports. The overall imports of fossil fuels is equals to 1/4 of the importations of the European Union. So there are important economic reasons also for us to look at this problem more deeply. And I would like to add a fourth reason, and this fourth reason is that energy appears now in very close connection, I would say in an integrated connection with the global issue of climate change. So once again, I would like to say that current events in the neighborhood, economic reasons, global reasons, all dictate us to have a fresh look at our energy vulnerability. And lately, this issue has been several times on the agenda of the Summit of European Leaders. Only in 2014, this issue has appeared 3 times on the agenda of the European Council. So on the agenda of the meetings of the heads of state and government of the European Union. We know quite well that there is no one single step that could solve our energy vulnerability, that could help us to decrease our energy vulnerability. I would say even that there is no single field where we can take, even if the action is consistent, when we can really achieve a major change. So we have to combine several methods and several fields. I would just like to mention the most important areas where we would like to act, I would say, quickly and decisively in order to decrease our energy vulnerability and strengthen our energy security. The first one is reducing energy demand in the European Union. In October, the European Council decided that until 2030 we will reduce our energy demand by 27%, mainly through increasing energy efficiency. The second area is increasing energy production inside the European Union, mainly through relying more on renewables. And the October decision says that by 2030 we have to increase the production of renewables by 27%. The third area is interconnection. Connection of energy networks, let it be electricity or pipelines inside the European Union. And I would immediately say also increasing interconnections, developing infrastructure for connecting us also with our major partners. The fourth area is, and this is related to the topic of this conference, is diversifying sources of supply. And here I would like to say that we will look at all possibilities. We think that, for example, LNG can be a very important source, new source, an emerging source. And we hope very much that energy might be included in our discussions with the United States concerning the TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. And the last issue is legal approximation. We would like to contribute to establishing standards as uniform as possible when we think about cooperation in the energy field, sources of supply, and creating interconnections. It is in this overall context that the Caspian appears on our agenda, and I would say appears as an increasingly important possibility for diversifying supplies and creating long-term contacts that will help us decreasing, first of all, our vulnerability that appears when we have our sources of supply concentrated on a very small number of suppliers. This is a new source that helps us diversify, but it also can create and generate new possibilities in our relations with the countries of the Caspian region. And here I would like first of all to mention one issue which is, I think, of significant importance for us. We will continue our efforts and we will continue negotiations about the establishment of the Trans-Caspian pipeline. We very much value the cooperation and the contacts we have had in this issue with Azerbaijan, also with Turkmenistan. And here I would like to say immediately we also very much value the role of Turkey in this connection. So we would like to continue negotiations and to continue very closely with all these 3 countries about the possibility of creating the Trans-Caspian pipeline. I would immediately add that the decisions that have been taken already about the Trans-Anatolian pipeline and the Trans-Adriatic pipeline. So the fact that now it is, I would say, it is a palpable, real possibility that increasing quantities of gas can be transported from the Caspian to Europe through these pipelines that will be created and will be functional in the coming years, I think makes it even more important for us to continue looking at the possibility of the establishment of the Trans-Caspian pipeline in the coming period. This is all part of what we would call the Southern Energy Corridor or Southern Gas Corridor for the European Union. And you see very much that this Southern Gas Corridor will rely very much on the Shah Deniz project, on Azeri gas, but we are ambitious. We would like to continue building up capacity as possibilities arise, possibility for transporting gas through the Southern Corridor, also from other sources, looking at the Caspian in a rather wide sense. And my last point is Georgia, and you know how much we value Georgia's role in the overall context of creating networks, connections, and we look upon Georgia as a regional hub that will continue to be very important also in the future for the Southern Gas Corridor and in general for the efforts of the European Union directed to diversifying sources of supply. What to do with Georgia, you know quite well. Our Georgian friends are quite aware of that. I would just like to say that we go forward in the bilateral context, and this is also a field where the signature of the association agreement between Georgia and the European Union will play an important role. There is a significant energy chapter in the association agreement, and we are working hard together with our Georgian partners to implement this energy chapter. There is one important single point in that energy chapter. It is Georgia's decision and intention to join the Energy Community Treaty. We have advanced negotiations with Georgia in that respect, and I just recall that at the start of my presentation I spoke about the importance of regulatory approximation and creating reliable, solid legal base for energy networks. I think that concluding with Georgia the Energy Community Treaty will generate additional possibilities also for Georgia in terms of energy flows and also in terms of investment. I will not dwell too much on that, but the European Union is supporting, together with our important partners, investments in the energy field in Georgia. Let it be through grants, combined with loans, European Commission grants combined with loans for European IFIs, frequently through the program called Neighborhood Investment Facility. I will not enumerate all the programs, but I would just like to say that our investments will continue in the field of energy transportation networks, electricity, maybe also in other fields, and also will continue to help Georgia to make the best possible use of its very significant hydroelectric potential. So overall, my main message to you this morning is that the European Union will make an additional effort to diversify sources of supply and to establish new and solid, long-standing relationship with partners of this region. We do it because we think that it serves our interests. This is in the mutual interest of the countries of the region and the European Union. Now, the task is now to continue what we are doing and also to find additional possibilities. And I would like to assure you that the European Union, which is becoming more and more integrated in the field of energy, will continue to be a very reliable partner to your countries and to the region as a whole, because we think that if we achieve these objectives, we will serve the interests of the people of the region and also serve the interests of the people of the European Union. Thank you very much for your attention.